Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap. I'm Tim.
I'm Tim.
I'm Tim.
And this week we listened to The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Boys.
Yeah, good.
What a new experience this was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you guys were making that as a joke. However,
You actually
I've
have.
literally never listened to this album before. This was a first time listening experience. Yeah.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
That was really cool and bizarre
Wow.
and
I
strange.
wouldn't have called that for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't have either.
I, know,
No,
I didn't
I've-
intend this as a Babes' first time. But
Literally,
here we go.
You've taken it. So,
I've stumped his P cards.
yeah, have. That was cool. I
Yeah.
don't want to go first. I went first last time. Someone else give their opinions.
Jason.
Yeah,
Jason.
Cool. I didn't pick
I don't know what you think of this album.
Oh, it's the worst thing in the world. No, I love this album, as a lot of people do, probably for very similar reasons. One of the things that still sticks out to me is the technology they use
Oh my
to
God.
make some of this and to
Yeah.
get it all lined
Lots
up.
of questions about
Imagine
that.
making
Yeah.
that 50 years ago. I mean, almost 50.
73.
So
So
57
for those
years
who
ago.
are not in the know, what does that mean? Like, what technology? What?
16 tracks were the newish kind of thing at the time, I think. So
Okay.
they had more flexibility because of that. So they didn't have to multi-track as much as the Beatles, but they still had to use second generation tapes, which, if you'll
Right.
recall from our earlier episodes, means like having the whole track basically done onto a second,
All right.
Yeah.
like compressing it down onto one tape instead of having
Each track
each
separate.
track
Each track,
separately,
yeah.
so that you can have more tracks to add into it.
Yeah.
So it just means committing to things and not being able to go back and undo things.
Whereas
Yeah.
these days we can have practically unlimited. I mean, like, the number of tracks you have is limited by the power of your CPU.
Yeah.
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 And
Right.
also just, I'm still not 100% sure, because I haven't looked into it enough, how they managed to make each side seamlessly transition into the next song without it. Because they're not recording start to end one side as like a big
Of course
long
not.
tape.
No.
It's still individual songs. But when you listen to it,
It's
just
seamless,
Yeah,
completely.
it's like, where is the delineation between where one starts and one stops?
The only, like, break in the album is between Grey Gig in the Sky and Money, which is when you have to flip the disc.
record, yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I don't know if anyone had done that beforehand, perhaps. I mean, you look at, like, orchestral recordings from before then, and, like, they had to have like, some movements in some symphonies go for 20 minutes, but that's not like 5 separate songs that they've connected. It wasn't composed like that. So, I don't know, man. This thing was revolutionary.
So that was once we hit the end of the album. That was the question. The big question I had was, what makes like an album typically really big is not it's not just the music itself. It's the time and place that it all
Yep.
happens.
It's not just having good songs.
Yeah, because like actually a lot of this album isn't song. It's like kind of meandering improvisation where I actually asked a question really early on. What's the difference on the Run? What's the difference between this and that jazz album that we listened to, Young Gabrick, a few episodes back?
It's shorter.
And it's also
like-
more directional and in a different context of
No,
other-
but
I
it-
understand the
But
comparison.
but
do
that was
understand the
and so I was
comparison.
sort of and that like came up but throughout this album, and then it kind of sank into a song and then pulled you back out, and it was sort of like, I feel like if you did that today, like this would not hit anything, right?
It's not as revolutionary though. Because
Yeah.
it's been done, and a lot of bands since then have tried to emulate this sort of thing because
I mean,
it's-
this album's so well regarded. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they try
Yeah.
to emulate it?
But I think it's interesting though that like I don't know, like as a first listen, I was expecting something completely fucking different.
Really?
Yeah, I had such like almost huge expectations for every song to be like a banger.
I mean they are, but just not in the
Well,
way
no,
it's-
no, but
no,
they're actually
no.
they're not actually bangers because
they're
some
not.
some of these things just kind of like that On the
Any
Run.
color you like, On the Run, and Speak to Me, I guess, doesn't really have much going for it. It's just a prologue.
Well, and they're kind of like, they're cool, but, and even moments in, I think it's Great Gig in the Sky.
Oh, really?
There are moments in it where it's floating, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's okay that I actually,
That's the whole album. Though.
I know it is, I know, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just commenting that like it floats and it meanders and it doesn't, like, to my ear today, it's like, I don't know, there's nothing necessarily new. It doesn't have like the attention grabbing stuff that maybe other really popular albums today might have. So I think it's really interesting.
That part of that as an experience is you're meant to be lost in it because of its floating. It's not meant to be, hey, here's your attention, like focus on this all the time. Like doing this, trying to sit down and analyze it while we're listening to it, kept having to like refocus myself on task because I did keep getting lost in it because of how
But
cool
I guess what I'm going at is that like there are
the
lots of
chords.
other genres that you can do that in today. And so kind of what I'm going to posit here as an argument is what makes this so great is its time in history and its place.
Sure. If it came out today, it would be pretty like, what?
Which I think is really cool because when I was listening to it, I couldn't help but feel like awed by what was going on because it was really, really cool. And like all of the effects that were happening, all of the stuff, I was like, oh shit, like I know when this came out and like all of the shit that I've heard in music since is all got these effects from it, which is cool. Anyway, that's my rant.
If I can go back to the like floating atmospheric kind of discussion we were having, the way I've thought about this album, and this may be telling of the states in which I've consumed this album, I think of it as like a field of sound that sometimes a song erupts from. Like how this is going to be so esoteric. How like an electron is an excitement of the electronic, the field that permeates all the universe.
Yeah.
So too is a song in this album an excitation of the sonic field. Is that enough? Have I gone far enough?
put your tinfoil hat on.
No, man, take your skin off. So this album is brilliantly composed end to end. No, it's not, because you're right. A lot of it is does have like kind of a meandering improvisation. On the Runs particularly gets me as like, okay, this is a like sonic experiment rather than like a musical exploration of any particular idea. It's an exploration of a sound, not a musical element.
Yeah.
If that distinction means anything.
No, I think that's right. It's definitely the exploration of sound in its like fullness, not necessarily, and that has harmony and that has rhythm and that has whatever.
This has sound.
But this is sound, and then like you say, you know, like you get the a song erupts and suddenly there's a beat and there's a melody and everyone can sing along.
That's why I
But
think
it's-
that's why
that's
my
not the
favorite.
focus.
I don't think it's my favorite song on the album, but I think my favorite moment in the album is when the song starts in time. After all of that, like just floating about in the sound, the clocks chime, the beats building, and then suddenly it just fucking rings your neck into a song.
Yeah.
I love that so much. It just snaps you awake, basically.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Actually, it was at that moment. Does this sound like the Beatles? Do the Beatles sound like Pink Floyd?
In what capacity are we talking?
Particularly the vocals and their vocal harmonies that they use.
I feel like that's a Tim question and not a me question.
I need to listen to more Beatles, it turns out, because I can't entirely answer that question with confidence, but sure.
Sure.
I mean,
I don't
probably.
know.
I mean, it'd be surprising if they weren't. It was recorded in Abbey Road.
Oh,
and
right,
I
okay.
think one of the engineers that worked on this was someone that worked with the Beatles.
Right. Okay. Similar, just vocal effects were happening, particularly when there was like 2 or 3 vocal lines happening at once. Just the way that they lay together.
That sounds like a production thing, which again, I think a producer worked with the Beatles.
Right.
and on
Okay.
this
Yeah.
album.
Because it was kind of jarring to like. Well, not jarring, but it was like, oh shit, is that the Beatles? And everything else I was hearing was not
The
the Beatles. But like the vocal
that
line
guitar
in particular.
tone, the
Yeah.
fucking drum sounds, all the synthesized things,
Hammond,
the way that music is composed. It's very not Beatles. If I can get into it.
Into what?
Harmony. Is it
across
time?
the album?
Across the
or-
album.
Go for your life.
Breathe. Pretty much the entire song is E minor, A7. So that's the tonic chord and then the subtonic. So 1, 4. Right? At the end of Time, did you notice that it like the last verse of Time is like a reprise of Breathe?
Yeah.
It goes back to that same progression, and like it flows so well, doesn't it? Like if you weren't looking out for it, you might not notice that it's a return to a previous song, especially if you're high. And then Great Gig in the Sky is G minor C7. It's 1, 4.
Yeah.
And then Money Doesn't Have It, Us and Them doesn't really have it, and then Any Color You Like. E minor, A7, 1, 4.
So what
and it just
Tim's
repeats.
pointing
It
out here-
drifts between the same chords. But you don't notice, it doesn't sound the same, does it?
I mean, there's a lot of other context
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
and there's stuff in between. But I understand your pointing. Okay, now I get what you mean when you
Then-
say get into harmony. You're talking about the Pink Floyd 1, 4.
Well, I don't want to attribute it to them.
No,
but
but
this
it's
album
something
is...
they are known for.
This album really does deliberate on it. They're known for it in this household, Jason. Then Brain Damage.
Therefore, they are known for it.
Brain Damage, D, G7, 1, 4. And then Eclipse is a different...
Okay, no, but okay, so even Money in Us and Them pedal,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So it's still because that was something that I was noticing. I was like
There's
really
not
locking
too
into
much
the bass
like
because
there's no harmonic
groovy.
masturbation in this album. Like
No.
there are cool ideas, but they don't go like exploding. They don't jizz any like expeditions over you. That's all in other elements of music.
So, King Harmony over here,
Sure.
and it's not doing a lot harmonically.
Oh, it is.
What? Okay, you're just saying it's not like
It doesn't get in the way
okay.
as interesting harmony is prone to. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of
Okay.
cool stuff in here that does not rear its head.
Cool. That's why I wanted to clarify because it made it sound like you were saying there wasn't
Yeah.
a lot going on.
You're right. Us and Them in particular has some gorgeous progressions.
Yeah. It was also really
That
interesting.
augmented
So
chord in the middle.
okay, you're gonna probably talk about some harmony and
Not if you don't want me to.
well, okay, so
you can stop me.
the sax is a really interesting addition here because it's sort of, I think it really, sax can really not work. And I think there is for me, there were two really big elements that made it work. There's the kind of the wash of synth and the guitar sort of gave it like a bed for that sax tone to rest on
Talking
safely.
in Us and Them specifically.
In Us and Them specifically. And then also the harmony was very jazz-esque with
Yes.
its extensions or its what do
Like
you call it?
just the kind of chords you wouldn't.
Suspensions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just things that you would normally find in a jazz context where sax is, king in a lot of ways. And like I think those two things really made the sax work, and maybe if they weren't there, if the sax had appeared in like, I don't know, I can't think of any other example on this album. Time? Yeah, it probably would have fallen really flat. Would have been like, oh, what the fuck is going on?
Would have been super out of place in Great Gig.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I really liked how that kind of, particularly just having that jazz harmony there and, I'll say jazz harmony, but extended harmony and that kind of big wash that I guess like balanced the tone of the sax. Cool. I liked it.
It is cool. Then you have the exact opposite saxophone tone in Money, which is like we get to hear both ends of that tone. It's like, oh my god, I love that solo so much. The guitar solo in Money. I said earlier that the intro of Time was the best moment, but it's not because the guitar solo of Money is the best moment.
I'm going to disagree with that in a second, but while we're on Money,
We were all
we've-
jamming out though.
we've got to talk about the loop at the beginning with like the cash registers and coins and stuff. And again, it's that kind of stuff that's in time with the technology they had that also wasn't something that was done a lot of back then, using external things that weren't instruments to add, and not even that, but to make a beat and rhythm out of it that can be an intro to a song.
It's just one of those things where we're not breaking any new ground, where we say,
No, not at
the
all.
cash register
No, no,
sounds
no, not at all.
and the rhythm and the beat, whoa, they match, whoa. like,
But also, it'd be
Because it was
pretty,
low-key blowing my mind.
pretty like,
Well, that's great.
yeah, but that's the point. It'd be pretty remiss to also not mention that it's a hugely and was a hugely popular song that's in 7/8,
7/4,
7/4,
7/4.
7/4.
Except the guitar solo, which is in 4/4.
Yeah.
Which means you can jam out to it way easier.
Which guitar solo, by the way?
The-
The first one, or the one that appeared in the left channel and then like made its way over?
Right, we haven't talked about Pan yet.
There's a lot. That's,
So I'm gonna drop the penny here. What genre would you call this album?
it's progressive rock.
Progressive rock?
Yeah, that makes
Other,
sense.
some would say psychedelic rock.
Right? A bit of both.
This album has a lot of elements of electroacoustic music.
Right.
It explores ideas that you wouldn't see in progressive and psychedelic rock. Going into these ideas is not something that happens in those genres.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the panning footsteps in time and the interviews with the working class English folks they had around.
Wasn't it just people in the studio though? They didn't like go out of their way to.
I had heard that there were just people on the street as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's such a cool way to get your background talking.
Is that
about
where
it.
that was all coming from?
Yeah, they recorded people. They had like a series of questions that they asked them and recorded it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And like they started off with like basic things like favorite color and how are you, and then got into like when was the last time you were violent and were you right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Because I couldn't really make out any of what they were saying. It was a bit weird hearing all of that and a little bit creepy.
Yeah, there's a lot of creepy shit in this album.
Yeah, like a lot of creepy shit.
Yeah, especially in On the Run. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, on the run
the
and
fuck?
brain damage as well. The laugh that came through.
Oh, yeah.
What
That's
was
such
the,
a beautiful song.
what's the
isn't
line
it?
like?
Yeah.
Lunatic in my head.
Yep.
And it's just like laughing, and it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Someone in my head.
Well, you know that
and
it's,
it's
like,
not me.
It's themed around like them struggling to live the lifestyle they're living with, and based a lot on Syd Barrett and not
Ah,
coping with-
okay.
A lot of
what's
people
going
say
on.
that this album is about mental health.
Right.
I think
I
that
mean, I can sort of see that.
you can take it more broadly as it being about the human condition, which mental health is a big part of. But, you know, I don't see money as really fitting in with mental
I mean,
health.
it's like corporate greed, right?
Is that mental health?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
okay,
I'm
okay.
I'm not disputing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um,
And time, I think, specifically, isn't like... It's definitely about being human, aging, and dealing with that, but it's not necessarily a mental health thing.
yeah.
God, I love this.
Okay, so on that kind of thematic thing, so with brain damage, something I really like in music in general is that contrast between like a soothing, sweet melody that's really cutesy, and the lyrical content is fucked and heavy. And this is like, this is such a good example. The
It's
guitar
like a
and the-
calypso lullaby.
yeah, yeah, and like what they're singing about is so, I don't know, jarring, creepy, strange, and then the whole kind of like
Confronting.
sweetness to that like melodic line becomes kind of all turned on its head and like distorted. I loved that. It was really, 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 really cool. I don't think they have that too much else through
No,
it.
generally lyrics and tone match across
Yeah.
the album, I'd say.
Yeah. But again, that contrast was just, I don't know, it stuck out.
There is contrast across the album in terms of creating tense moments and then sweeter moments.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, I know that we were saying On the Run was not like a song, it was more like sonic exploration, but it was really just creating that tension,
The
right?
build up to that,
That,
epic
like,
drop into time.
Really grating, arpeggiating synth that's constant while
Yeah.
you've got these like sounds like that are panning left to right
And
that
making
are,
you
like-
panic.
Yeah, it's like anxiety inducing almost. It's a lot.
And then the clocks wake you up from it. They like
Yeah.
just bring you back to earth, and then the drop into time it just slaps you.
Yeah. All the transitions in this are amazing. There's one that's slightly awkward that I kind of have to mention.
Is it Money Into Us and Them?
No.
What is it?
It's
Is it Any Color You Like?
Into Brain Damage, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not as seamless as like a moment where it like definitively shifts, whereas all the other ones, it's so hard to pinpoint where it happens.
Doesn't matter.
No, God no. But it's just something that always sticks out to me, and
Right.
Really?
it's a thing to bring up and point out. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice it at all, to be honest. Yeah, no, I think I was lost in the again, the panning,
Yep.
especially of the guitar solos. The way that I described the solo was blip. It was like blip, blip, blip. You know the bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
It was cool. There was so much panning, and also the guitar effects are just like wildly cool.
I've talked about Dave Gilmour before. All my homies love Dave Gilmour around here. Oh my god,
Yeah.
what a beast!
So yeah, shout out to In Money, particularly like the rubber banding.
Oh,
like,
that shimmering! Oh my god,
so
It's
cool.
so
And
cool.
it sits there just in the background. It's like one of those understated, like musically understated just effects that adds so much to it and gives it that kind of like, I don't know, bounce.
all of
groove.
the like setting of Money is just so cool. Obviously that iconic grooving ass bass line in 7/4 making its way back down the scale. I never paid too much attention to the drums in Pink Floyd. Isn't that interesting? What do you think?
There's so much. I mean,
There's so-
it's, what's
so-
his name? Nah, it starts with an N.
Nick Mason.
That's it. He's there for a reason.
Yeah.
He's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
But I don't know how involved he was in all the songwriting and the concepts, and obviously all the drama was not focused around him.
No, that's a very Roger
The drama.
Roger-centric
Yeah.
thing.
What do you mean the drama? What do we
We don't have the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a whole other thing by itself.
like the drama about? So in summary, the drama about the album, the drama about the band.
And
The band.
breaking, and the way they broke up and disbanded.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Typical band things.
Yeah.
Just band things.
Anyway,
band things.
then you've got that shimmering guitar rubber banding
Yeah.
across like at the start of every bar, and then the skanky chords, gang.
Mm-hmm.
And then the funky as keys,
Yeah.
which use that raised Dorian sixth to like kind of add some brightness to a pretty gritty tone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And
I
then
like it.
everyone gets back in on the unison, back
Do,
down the
do,
line,
do,
back
do,
into the groove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything's like going crazy, and then they all lock in and walk back down into the groove like nothing has happened.
Oh, it's so cool.
So is Money like the most popular song from this album?
It was I'm pretty sure.
I feel like that makes sense.
I think that's the song that most people would know. Yes.
yeah, because it's like it's the song on the album.
Yeah.
The rest of it is that kind of like wash of texture.
However,
Here's a song, we're back in the wash. Whereas this is just like
I think Brain Damage
here's
was
the
also
song.
pretty big.
Time and Us and Them,
Yeah.
still huge songs.
yeah. No, I can imagine that, but I don't know. My gut feeling is that
And Breathe. Or maybe that's just my dad.
like Time, Us and Them, they're kind of, I don't know. Yes, they're like songs, but they they feel more a part of the concept of whatever the album presented than Money, if that makes sense. Like thematically, compositionally, that whole like, you know what I mean? The other songs are a little bit more ethereal. Money is just like, here's a fucking slapper.
Here you go.
Is it time to talk about it yet? We haven't really spoken about it.
What?
Great Gig in the Sky.
Oh,
Okay.
I've heard a lot of people mention this, but I've had no idea why.
Do you understand now?
No.
Really?
Sort of.
You didn't get that just like...
The vocals are incredible.
That's what I mean. That performance is just one of my favorite musical things ever.
Yeah.
She's all right.
No, it's good, but it's like
And
that was the song.
I'm
right?
glad that eventually
Yeah.
she was paid her undisclosed amount out
And-
of court.
Credited as a songwriter.
Eventually.
Eventually.
She's not just on this song. She's on a bunch of songs throughout the album, Claire Toddy. She's great.
Tori.
Tori?
I'm pretty sure it's Tori.
Anyway, you're a songwriter now.
And you always were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that vocal, like, cause she was brought in as like a vocalist.
From what I heard, she was practicing in like nearby, and they heard
Yeah,
her.
and they heard her.
That's
but-
the story.
I love
Yeah,
the myths.
but
Yeah.
basically,
It's
she
probably
was doing
bullshit.
like the typical backup vocalist, ooh yeah, baby kind of stuff, and they were like, we don't want any words, like just like go to town, like
Yeah.
only sound.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you're an instrument.
Yeah.
No,
Not-
it's cool.
Not a
It's,
vehicle for lyrics.
Is it not just so expressive without having to attribute words or anything to Cloud meaning? It's
you
just.
sound like me talking about that jazz album.
This is why I'm so surprised you're not like, wow.
No,
That's...
well, I don't know. It's not a song I would just listen to by itself. Like, oh, I really want to just hear a banger. I'll put this on. Like, maybe it's something you have to be in the mood for to steal your words, because it's like it's a great performance.
I wonder how you get in that mood, Pink Floyd.
No, like it's a great performance, and like it's cool. Like musically, it's really really cool. But it's sort of, well, it's ethereal and it's kind of just exploring sound. It's not like, here's a song, start to finish, chorus, verse, whatever. It's just like, oh wow, that was cool, and then it's gone into the next thing already, and it came from the previous thing.
Well, it was the end of the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I like how the chord that the song ends on like bends up towards the end of the
Yeah.
disc. That was cool.
But yeah, anyway, that's my opinion on Great Gig.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's one of my most favorite musical things ever. Just it's so expressive without having, like, they haven't packed a lot in. It's like to the point in such a unique way.
A lot of people rave about it, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
It is pretty.
Is it for the same reason, so?
Probably.
Because it's just like,
I mean, like, I think people are just over the moon about her performance. I think that really is what it is.
yeah.
Like having Pink Floyd as your backing band, yeah, it's a pretty
pretty cool.
good setup. It's always stood out to me how a lot of vocalists use range to build intensity. So like they'll go a step higher to get a level up, right?
Sure.
Whereas here, Claire, she comes out of the gate like at the high G, and she only
Yeah.
goes a tone higher later on. So the intensity isn't bought through range; it's bought through intensity, like the tone.
the vocal performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, dude, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they do the thing where they strip it back.
Yeah,
and it
basically
gets more
repeat the
intimate,
whole song again, but
but,
calm
like,
down.
But it just gets more intimate. I don't know. It's lovely.
Well, they constantly explore sound to build intensity in ways where it's purely just about the sound, right? Like,
Yeah.
So the example I'm going to use, Us and Them, where they go into like I'm just going to call it like the vocal chorus, where there's like a big choir just going, oh.
Oh yeah,
So piano rocks up at that bit, and it's only and then before, like, it's synth, and then piano is hitting these chords, and there's this real sharpness to the attack, and like it's not necessarily adding any more thickness because they've gone from the synth, which is a sustained note, to that sharp attack, but it gives it so much more sort of intensity subtly, which is cool, very very cool, and they keep doing that
Also,
through like.
towards the end of the album, if you're talking about it, they really started using texture towards the end of the album, having big chorus kind of vocals come in the chorusy sections of the songs, because you can't really call them verses and choruses, and just, having a thicker texture in a certain section to make it huge, and then thinning it out for the smaller texture.
yeah. Especially in Us and Them, when there is that huge, like, it's a choir,
Yeah, it's
singing
choir,
the
yeah.
chorus, and then like it backs away, and it's just a piano solo for a little bit, and then the sax comes back. Lovely, lovely stuff.
One other thing we 100% have to mention is how iconic the album cover is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one of the most recognizable images, at least within modern culture.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
And that only adds to the album.
It's so striking.
Yeah. Like, imagine back in 1973 flicking through records and seeing that. Like, you're
It
wanting to pick
stands
that
out
up and
so
listen
much.
to it.
especially coming out of the 60s where every album cover is like a bunch of flowers and vibrant colors and like
And then you
names
see-
written in
yeah.
bubbly letters and like, no, triangle, light,
Yeah.
black background.
It's yeah, there's a again though it brings me to that first question I had. If this was a today album, like that
Yeah.
image, is that iconic?
No, not as much. No.
But that's because we stand on the shoulders of giants, and this is one of the giants.
Is that what it yeah.
Yeah.
Click above to find out what else we've listened to this month.
Click below to support the artist we just listened to.
And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.